Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Claudette Owens, and I am the CEO for QuantusLinks LLC, which is an engineering services and professional development company. And I have the dubious honor, the exciting honor, to introduce our speaker this afternoon, KimCaudleLewis. I want to beg your indulgence and ask you to do something for me. And that is, when we leave here today, I ask you to Google her name and read all of her incredible accomplishments. She is certainly a very accomplished professional, to include being the first African-American female to be the president of the Huntsville, Madison County Chamber of Commerce. She is also president and CEO of PROJECTXYZ. Now, if you read about her, I'm sure you will find she's quite accomplished, she's a visionary, she's award-winning, and she sits on numerous boards. But if you would just permit me 2 minutes this afternoon, I would like to introduce Kim, the person. From raising pigs on a farm in Triana to bringing home the bacon, Kim it's just what her name stands for. She is a noble professional as well as a personal individual. She is kind, she's industrious, she's motivating, she's warm and caring, and has a deep sense of professional, community, and family responsibility. Many people spell adversity ADVERSITY, but Kim Lewis spells adversity opportunity. Kim has the ability to see the big picture and maintain a positive attitude under the most difficult of circumstances. Kim's upbringing served to shape her and her leadership style. Growing up in Triana, the youngest of 10 children, her parents, Charlie and the late Lela Caudle, instilled in her the virtues of entrepreneurship, leadership, civic duty, and community service. Being the youngest of her siblings, Kim knows how to be a team player, but she's not afraid to speak her opinion and her voice, her views. She takes things and think them out well. She uses informed decisions, sensible decisions, but she will take a calculated risk when the time calls for it. Kim is a transformational leader who knows when it's time to either change strategy, structure, or seasons, all with keeping everyone else involved, their welfare in mind. Before switching to the world of IT, Kim was a nursing major. It's somewhat ironic to me that her first job in the IT business was medically related. I believe Kim carries her medical training over into everything that she does, with the caring and the compassion that she shows her business, her employees, her friends, her family, her community relations, and her involvements. Her success in IT and meeting the absolute love of her life, Mr. Larry Lewis, led to the founding of PROJECTXYZ. She met Larry through work and family, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell the truth before I tell a lie. I told her that I was gonna say that I had something to do with them meeting, since Larry and I were working on a contract at the time. So I would like to think I had a little bit to do with that, and even though I didn't, I can say I am so glad that I've had a lot to do and be a friend to them in their married life. But Larry and his mother and his beautiful aunt are all here with us today. If you all will wave at us and let us know who you are. Together, Kim and Larry share two beautiful daughters, Sandi, 24, and Lela, 10. Kim and Larry are always seeking to diversify their interests. They both share the goal of making sure that they gave back to the communities that they each grew up in. So in addition to PROJECTXYZ, they own properties and businesses that help the interest of others, to include BizTech, a business incubator in Huntsville, Alabama, and Kim's Closet, which is a retail portion of a business incubator in the Shoals, and they have Superhero Chefs, a fine dining restaurant in Tuscumbia, Alabama. Kim also enjoys taking pictures, and she can often be seen with what we call her little white camera. And if she wanted to, I'm sure she can make that a successful business as well. And if anyone can make us see life through a different lens, I'm sure KimCaudleLewis could. But after her relationship with the Lord, Kim credits her husband Larry, their girls, her extended family for helping her navigate through life's challenges. She considers her girls her greatest achievements. And Kim's philosophy of life is a paraphrase of the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated. She has several favorite quotes by the poet and author Maya Angelou, but the quote that transformed her life comes from her father. He taught her and her siblings that they are no better than anyone else, but they certainly are as good as anyone else. That quote served to both humble and encourage our speaker. And in her spirit of warm personality and innovative thinking, Kim prefers conversations more than speeches. So without any other ado, if you will allow me to welcome Kim and Jamie to the stage for our keynote conversation, please give them a round of applause.
Where do I start now? So if you've been here in years past, you know this format's a little bit different than what we normally do. We normally have a keynote speaker who stands up here and talks, but we've decided this year we're going to do things just a little bit differently and a little bit more chill and laid back. So if you have any questions or anything that comes up while we're talking, please hold those to the end, and we're going to do a quick question and answer at the end because this lady is fantastic and amazing. So let's get to it. Okay, so first of all, let's talk. You know, my husband and I have been foster parents for years. We have had a plethora of children throughout our home, but 10 kids at one time. And you're the baby of those 10 kids.
Youngest of 10.
So tell me, what was life like growing up in a home with 9 other people? 10 other people, total mom and dad.
Yeah, it was actually more than that. Being the youngest of 10, there was always family at the house. You know, you had your siblings and stuff, but there was always people there. I mean,
right.
My family we lived on Raglan Circle, which is my mom's father's maiden name, my grandmother's maiden name, excuse me. And so I had an aunt, my grandma, my uncles, several cousins that all lived on Raglan Circle. So everybody around there, so it was always people around. So it was never privacy.
Right.
So it was one of those things that you learn quickly to find your space, to find what you liked, and kind of work on your own little niche area. But then you also found a way to make sure everybody was involved in what you were doing, so it made things process a little bit easier. So there were challenges doing that, but it was still fun because it created that community atmosphere. And because we all live right there together, that community is what I was raised in. That's how I knew you helped each other out. If somebody had an issue, everybody worked on it together. If somebody had a problem, everybody worked on it together. So that's just kind of ingrained in me, that community atmosphere, and I think that kind of translates into my adult life of making sure the community as a whole are all working together.
That's so awesome. So that was something else that I wanted to ask you about. How'd you get here? What were your goals growing up, physically?
Yeah.
Not physically here. What were your goals as a child growing up? What did you want to be? What did you think that you would be?
I think Claudette hit it when she did. She knows me so well. And you talk about somebody that's a mentor to you but she doesn't know she's your mentor. That's Miss Claudette to me. Because she's been one of those people I've called from spiritual help to professional help. So she knows me quite well. And I think what you were asking the question is, how did I get here? She mentioned that I tell you that my horror story is I actually started off at UNA in nursing school. Got halfway through that and realized I didn't want to be a nurse. So I had to rethink my whole process and way of thinking, because I always wanted to make sure I was taking care of people and working with people, but the nursing was not the background I needed to. So I was talking the other day and talked about finding your purpose, figuring out what you want to do. So I went through a plethora of different type of jobs until I figured out what it was I wanted to do, and had to figure it out in a way that I could still support myself. So I was working several jobs, working different things, and then I realized I actually liked the IT field. So I went back to Calhoun and got a computer science degree, computer information systems degree from Calhoun, and started working in the healthcare arena at the local hospital. And I was doing that so well that the hospitals that were implementing the same system started calling me from all over the country and asking me to consult with them. And I was like, okay, but I don't know how to do that from here. So that was at the time before remote access and stuff came about. So we figured out a way to do that, but it required me to start traveling a whole lot. And I remember thinking that I couldn't travel and do this on nights and weekends as a consultant. I'm going to eventually have to leave my full-time job to do this full-time. So I was praying to God one night and said, hey, God, if this is really what you want me to do, if this is the path you want to lead me down, then open that door for me. And it wasn't, maybe a week or so later, I actually got a call from a hospital that said they wanted to hire me full-time. But when they called, they said I had to do it as a company, not as an individual like I had been doing. So me and Larry were dating at the time, and I called him up. I said, okay, I've got the contract, but I don't have a company. He says, well, I got this shell called PROJECTXYZ, really generic. So, but you can use that because he had set this up to work on a project with the other company he was working for. But it worked out. So now PROJECTXYZ is actually doing a variety of things, so the name kind of fits. And it's just worked to take the IT skills that started off as something that was just not what I necessarily wanted to do, but migrated into a company. And now we've got employees across the country, actually across the world now, because we got some folks overseas. And employing people everywhere. It's just amazing how life can work itself out. So
yeah, it really, really is. And you mentioned Mr. Larry a couple of times. So somewhere in the midst of your life, you found this helpmate who is fit perfectly for you, which is so exciting. And you've mentioned multiple times that you are a serial entrepreneur of sorts, and that this young fellow is your balance. So talk to us about that.
Well, when I first started PROJECTXYZ, at the time I was a single mom. I was looking forward to ways to make extra income. So I was doing that to try to make extra income. So being a serial entrepreneur, you're always thinking of new ways to do stuff. And sometimes those things don't always work right, but when you have a partner, what did you find? Me and Larry actually got married in 2003. We found a way to work all those things together because he's a serial entrepreneur too, even though he might not want to admit that. But we're always thinking of new ideas, new ways of doing stuff, but figuring out a way to benefit our communities, the people around us, provide opportunities that may not have been there before. One of the things Claudette mentioned was one of the things that we never thought we'd be in the restaurant business, but we had an opportunity where a gentleman, Darnell Ferguson, super chef as he calls himself, came and he wanted to open up a restaurant, so we talked him into opening the one up in Tuscumbia. So it wasn't something that we wanted to do, but being able to give back to people and provide them opportunities to expand their dreams, it worked out that way. It was a great benefit to us. Also with BizTech, the hard story with that one is, when we first got started, BizTech is Huntsville's oldest incubator. We actually went to them and asked them to help us. And we were pretty much told thanks, but no thanks, because we weren't the type of company that were looking to help at that time. Well, fast forward several years, BizTech was about to go out of business. The building that it was in no longer was being used. Basically, it went away. So we were buying it as a new home for PROJECTXYZ. When we got in there, we realized that BizTech was still live and it's still something that the city wanted and needed. So we figured out a way to make that purchase. And Larry actually became the CEO of BizTech. And now we're helping other companies with the services that we weren't given. Because now we realize that a lot of companies need the basic stuff, how to even be a business. Because that's something that we had to learn along the way. So we can help that a little bit easier for other companies throughout the country. Actually, not just in Huntsville, it's actually been pretty good for us. So we're just constantly making sure we're taking care of us and some other people.
And that kind of leads into what my next question.
How many questions? No.
You're doing well. You're doing well.
Oh, then they pulled up a whole bunch of pictures. Sorry.
There you are.
Sorry, I didn't notice
Keynote
that.
conversations
Where's
with
Crystal? She did that.
KimCaudleLewis. So good. Okay, so the one thing that has stood out most to me since you and I've met over your $1 million contracts and all the things is your absolute heart to lift up other people. I know that you mentioned a couple of the ventures that you have done with the restaurant and some other things, but what motivated you to help so many people reach their goals?
I think it was part of that what I was saying in the beginning, that community thing. If you help someone else come up, it's just braving, that whole thing, the rising tide raises all the ships. I think that we all need to have that kind of atmosphere that you can do a little bit to help somebody else over that hump. Because one of the things I remember hearing a long time ago is somebody else's blessing may be based on what you do. So they can't get to their next level unless you bless them. So my thing is, if I can figure out a way to help somebody just a little bit to get to the next level, it hadn't hurt me any to do that.
Right.
So as we continue to be successful in business and do that, we share those ideas and those thoughts with other people, and then even resources. I mean, we've invested in a lot of startups to make sure that they get that foundation that they need to continue to grow. it's helping us with our portfolio and things to grow too, but it's also helping somebody else fulfill their dream that might not even happen. And it wasn't a big burden on us to do that kind of thing. So if there's opportunities where you see to help somebody, there's nothing to stop you from doing something little to make a big difference in someone's life.
That's so good.
Yeah, sorry.
I love it. It's so good. Okay. So let's talk. What do you do in your spare time there, Kim?
How's that work?
Do you even have that? I see you doing all the things, and you give back so much to the community.
That's Larry, but not
Larry.
So most of my spare time is actually spent out volunteering somewhere else. He literally fusses about that all the time. He's like, okay, you volunteering everywhere else, but we got to take care of things over here. So, but that's what I'm passionate about.
Right.
If there's ways to do those little things, I don't mind doing them. And my little one fusses because most of the time I drag, she's 10, so I drag her along with me and make her do it. Like, I guess a couple weeks ago, we did the Over the Edge for Kids to Love Foundation. Well, I didn't go over the edge. There were some of them that didn't. I was scared of heights, y'all. But I made her get out that morning because I wanted her to see it was a thing for foster children. It's a fundraiser because my quote for that thing was, you know, foster kids live on the edge all the time.
Every day.
So they did a program to show going over the edge of people taking those chances and stuff to prove to foster kids that it's okay to do certain things.
Right.
But I took her out there with me because I want her to have that same kind of compassion and same kind of feelings that you give to others and help others out, that you feel rewarded inside, but then also you feel like you're helping the community too. So it was good, but she fusses because I drag her out there too.
I can imagine, but that leads up to what I want to know, and I think you've answered it for me, but what is your legacy? What is the legacy that you want to leave behind for your children, your grandchildren?
I think the biggest thing is just making sure that people realize that if nothing else, Kim cared about the people around her, whether it's her family, her friends, and the community as a whole. Because it's just one of those things that if you can kind of leave that legacy, you know that people actually care, that people actually appreciated what you did. So that's about the biggest thing. I mean, I don't necessarily want a legacy. I just want to make sure while I'm here that I'm doing the best that I can. I mean,
Absolutely. Is there anything that you want to add, that you want to talk about?
we laughed about this because me and Jamie and Crystal actually went out to lunch before we actually decided to do this. And when she asked me to do it, I was like, Crystal, I don't like standing up at a podium talking. And then Jamie said, oh great, I've got the perfect idea. Let's sit down and have this conversation. So we want to actually include you guys in this conversation too.
Right.
So if there's certain things that you want to know, want to ask and stuff too, because I just want to show that when you start off from adversity, I mean, yes, I was the youngest of 10 kids and we lived on a single parent income. We were the country cousins, we were the poor kids, we literally lived on the farm with the cows and pigs and stuff. Paulette was picking at, you know, that sleeping with pigs thing, but it was one of those things as a kid, there were pigs and stuff that were brought in the house because it was too cold to keep them outside. So they kept them in there by the freezer. So it's that country girl that grew up and you find that, you know, success in other places. It means a lot. So I want other kids to see that that's a possibility. So I just want to show that possible is possible. Why are you laughing? There's a whole lot you know about me before. Because it's funny, I am the youngest of 10, but Larry's an only child. Oh, sorry. The story that I tell folks is literally when we first got married, he came home, he went upstairs to go change, and he came back downstairs, and it was a house full of folks. He's like, who are these people coming? I said, he's out here. Doorbell ran. I said, my family don't ring no doorbell. And they were literally all down there. He said, okay, we won't have to talk. So we literally, he said, we're moving to the other side of town, so at least they have to call before they come. So we didn't move, but they still just come by the house. But it's just funny though. But it was just an adjustment to the whole thing, because he's usually the quiet demeanor, whatever. My family is loud and boisterous, because there's so many of us. So you just be, well, either way, sorry. He's used to it now.
Are there any questions? Anybody have anything they want to know from Kim? Want to pick her brain? I see a hand, but there's a bright light shining.
Hey Kim, Christy Hill here. So, hey. So, everything that you juggle, how do you suggest as busy women we manage our schedule and take time for those things that are important? Or maybe we're not taking care of those things that are important.
It is, you know, somebody always asks, you know, how do you manage that work-life balance? It's not a balance, it's truly a juggle, because some days family's important, because if Lela called right now and said she was sick, one of us would drop everything and go get her. The next day, we may have a big contract coming out, and it's a 24-hour, literally working to get stuff done. So it's a constant juggle. And I'm lucky enough that Larry's there to support me, and then also I'm the youngest of the 10, so there's plenty of siblings to call on when stuff is happening. But it's constantly, it's just changing it, and then I'm still working on finding that me time. I hadn't quite figured that one out yet. Why are you shaking your head like, no, I hadn't. Because that's what I need to concentrate more on, is finding a little time of just decompressing and breathing and being me, and finding that little, but I enjoy being out. You know, as an extrovert, when you're around other people, you pick up that energy, whereas it drains Larry, so we find that constant balance of working that out. Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot, sorry. I know you're used to it.
You have somebody else, yes.
Hey.
Crystal Morgan, I'm looking at a Launch Alliance. So I just wanted to ask how you stay so humble, because when you and I first met, you were just my fun friend from the Huntsville Chamber. I had no idea all the businesses that you were involved in and everything you did. We were just two moms hanging out together at events, so that's something I just, how do you keep yourself so humble?
I'm just Kim. I mean, the other stuff is just stuff that's happened in my life, but deep down inside, I'm just Kim. I'm still the same mom. I'm still the same sister. I'm still the same wife. Still the same person, regardless of what we've got going on. The business stuff is just stuff that happens in our life, and we keep moving with it. So it's just part of it. I don't classify myself or put the title of what the different stuff we got going on as part of that. It's just things that happen, because the business could be gone tomorrow, but I still want to be Kim and people to know me as the person.
Great. Can't see.
I can't see either, so if
I
anybody's
can't
raising their
see
hand,
you.
the lights are
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Kim.
Hey.
What is the biggest challenge you've had to overcome?
Probably learning the different sides of the business. I started off in healthcare IT, because that's what I was strong in, and to migrate over into the government sector was a huge challenge, because it was something that I wasn't familiar with, and it was just learning that and still figuring out how to navigate through where I'm not retired military, I'm not a retired general, or that kind of thing. So it's kind of hard to migrate into some of those areas. So that was the biggest challenge to me, just learning the whole new language of how to communicate. You don't have the medical jargon, you've got all the military acronyms. So that was the biggest learning thing. And then one of the most recent challenges is about 2 years ago, out of the blue, I had a little sty on my eye. And I didn't know what it was, what was going on. And I went to the doctor, and they were like, don't know what that is. So they're gonna send me down to Birmingham. They did a biopsy on my eye, and it's literally cutting on your eye, and turned out I had orbital lymphoma. And that's something that, that's what I said to what? Because I had never heard of it either. And it's actually a cancer of the eye. So I went through the treatments of all that, and one thing that I kind of pride myself on that, because most people didn't even know I was going through that at that time. And I said, that's the way I wanted to be. I didn't want to let the sickness take care of me. I wanted to make sure I was still doing what I had to do, even though I got fussed at because I wouldn't sit down. But I wanted to make sure I was still living life, because things could happen all the time. So as I was going through treatments, I'd still go do what I had to do that morning, go do my treatment, and then go back to work if I could, if I felt like it. So it's just one of those challenges. You just keep going and realize that those don't define who you are. They're just something that you go through.
Wow. That's good stuff. Yeah, that's good. Wow.
So you have this, you're sunshiny, and you have this glow about you, and anyone in here would say that, because it's so prevalent. So what is your inspiration? What is who inspired you? What inspires you? And when you wake up in the morning, what do you think?
My biggest inspiration, probably my two girls. Literally, Lela comes running down the hall, good morning! Every morning is loud and bright, so it's just, they're what keeps me going. They're the ones that I do it for. Because even my oldest, she's 24 now, I mean, she was the reason why PROJECTXYZ got started, because I wanted to make a better life for me and her, and to move and make more income to be able to do that. So they've been the ones I want them to see me doing certain things and realize they're not limited by certain things. So they've always been what's motivated me to keep pushing and keep trying. And then being the youngest of 10, I had to prove to my big sisters and brothers I could do certain things. So. But no, in all goodness, it's truly my girls.
We have anybody else?
Uh-oh, Crystal raising her hand back there.
So that means you get the last question.
It was one of those things, a lot of people were calling asking what's, some people would hear what was going on, whatever. So I actually, at that time, created a blog. And it cataloged through the journey of me going through the treatments and stuff too, because I wanted people to see that I was still living life, I was still doing stuff, and not being pigeonholed because I had the cancer at the time. So, and it was also a way, because I have family everywhere, to let everybody know what was going on without having to call everybody up too. But it was just a way to let everybody continue to follow the journey, be with me, and I needed all the prayer warriors I could get, so I wanted people praying from everywhere that they could to get through that. So I just felt compelled to share it, and it was my release too, because it was days when it wasn't so fun, and I shared those thoughts and things too. So it was going through that journey and process. It felt better to share it with everybody.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love how you said going through that didn't define it. It's just something you went through. That's how
Yeah, it really is.
it is.
And that's why everything in life is. It's just that chapter for right then. It doesn't define, because a lot of people see now, but they don't know the journey of everything that went on to get to this point. I always say you can't judge a person by the chapter you pick that book up on. You need
Right.
to know everything that goes on, because a lot of us have backstories and need to know why and how a person is the way they are, and not to judge them by what they're seeing right now.
That's good stuff right there. Let me just tell you what an honor it has been to sit up here today with KimCaudleLewis. Thank each of you for being here. John's going to come up and finish us out, I do believe, but thank you.
Jamie, thank you very much for doing this and for your leadership.
Sure.
We've had, I think we were talking before, this chamber and the Huntsville chamber do a lot of things together people don't realize. We go to Washington together, we have job fairs together. We're now working with an outside consultant on a regional workforce issue. Larry and I serve on the Launch 2035 board, which is a tri-county regional thing. So we work together a lot, and we thank you for taking the time to be over here and sharing with us, coming across that river, Kim.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And in your honor, we're going to present you with a gift to the Caudle Community College Foundation in honor of your appearance here today and in recognition of you serving on their board. And we also have another token, a small token of appreciation for you being here. I'd like to congratulate Dr. Cook. Congratulations on the Athena Award. We appreciate that. Kim and I were talking, I think they've had 4 female chairs at the Huntsville Chamber. We've also had 4, but we're going to pass you next year because Miss Michelle Howell will be our chair next year, and as Trudy likes to say, we'll get everything back on track next year. I do want to invite everybody, this Friday, we're having our annual Chamber Appreciation Lunch at the Chamber between 11 and 1. Please come by and eat lunch with us and meet other folks, network with each other, meet the staff, see the office, see where we operate from, and come by there from 11 to 1. Give us a call at the Chamber, though, if you're going to come, so we can make sure Denise cooks enough lunch for everybody. And so with that, we're adjourned. We thank you for being here today.